Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dan, the voice behind ThatKaitoDan, and welcome to the final RWBY Volume 7 episode review with Chapter 13, The Enemy of Trust. Please remember though, before watching this video, to watch the finale first through roosterteeth.com to support the show and avoid spoilers. And before we begin as well, I want to apologize for this being another delayed video. I guess the volume couldn't end without making a sick bug force me into one last delay before it finished. But either way, thank you all so much for watching my content this volume. Sorry there has been some bumps along the way, but I do greatly appreciate you supporting me with every view, comment, and subscribing. Don't worry though, I will still be doing some content after the volume is over, including a full volume review, so be on the lookout for that sometime soon. Also, if you want, you can take part in a community-wide fan poll done by Kalaxin called The Oscars, our own little celebration of various Volume 7 moments, and the winners are decided by you. Links to the voting form down below. Let's now dive into the last viewer comments section of the volume, and as expected, a lot of it was to do with Crow and Clover's tragic final moments together. The missing half Steph, for example, noted how this was the pair's first and, sadly, last argument, which could say a lot for their bond, while Twin Doom opted to fight the tears with a more comedic side of things. And finally, Siobhan Noble pointed out how defeats have proved effective for the heroes in the past, and how it could benefit the Aesops in the future. So it goes without saying that the volume's penultimate chapter left quite a mark on us, huh? Even beyond the painful and hotly disputed closing moments, the chapter still gifted us with some electric action and plenty to try and chew on before the finale came around. The pressure is on though. Do I think Volume 7 was able to close out on a high note? Or did it follow the volume's events and take a turn for the worst? Let's find out. We open with the first of two bouts, Team Juniper 2.0 versus Neo, who despite the numbers disadvantage, still makes light work of the foursome with a trademark flair and athletic skills. I don't think I'll ever get tired of a Neo fight, with the way the crewbie just makes magic with her expressions and unique moves. To be fair though, props to Oscar's staff stabs, Jean's quick shielding, and the neat way that the group tries to keep Neo grounded for an attack. Nice to see them get some kind of momentum, though it is a shame that it doesn't result in anything of actual note, as Neo gives them the slip while soldiers arrive to arrest them, meaning that it's time to book it. Meanwhile, in the other hotly contested fight, pardon the pun, Cinder's giving Penny and Winter a hard time, rocking Penny into the walls and keeping Winter on her toes in a clash of blades. However, what's most interesting during all of this is Cinder's comments. She makes a crack at Winter and other Atlas elites for hoarding power, assuming they'll never lose it, which only inspires those beneath them to grow hungry for their own power. Cinder even saying that she herself refuses to starve. Huh. Makes you think that she's speaking from experience, don't it? In fact, I think that's very much the case. Obviously, Cinder's past has been a long, drawn-out point of discussion, but here it sounds like we're finally getting a breadcrumb to suggest that Cinder was at one point low on the food chain, and saw any kind of power as a means to climb the ladder. It is the most common theory that the fans have had, given how much it falls in line with the tale of Cinderella, but this also suggests that Cinder could also be from Atlas, maybe even Mantle, given the class conflict there. It's about time we got something at least, and it has been long overdue, but hopefully that's something we'll see explored next time out. For now though, the Atlas duo managed to catch Cinder on the ropes for a little bit, only for the fiery Vixen to rage tackle them both right through the wall and outside high above the city. Like, damn, that's not a short fall in the slightest, which is bad news for Winter, who's left to fall while Cinder dominates Penny with a nice little football kick and exploding sword. Cinder for Liverpool 2020. Even when Winter gets back in the game with a Manticore, it's not long after that Cinder cuts the beast down, and for added measure, peppers Winter with some fireballs, breaking her aura. No aura, no semblance summons, so now Penny has to choose, stop Cinder or save Winter. Much to Winter's surprise, the RWBY girl picks her. She believes that her life doesn't matter next to stopping Cinder, but bless Penny's little heart, she continues her stance from their last debate, not accepting sacrificing a life for any reason. Back with the B team, and they're still on the run, but poor Oscar's been through the ringer tonight, barely able to keep up with the others, so it comes as no surprise then that he soon loses track of them as the soldiers draw nearer, and even when Nora pulls him aside in a safe space, that lasts only about 5 seconds before it turns out to be Neo in disguise. I'm not gonna lie though, Nora with Neo's eyes looks actually kinda cool, but yeah, more so actually scary. Oh, and she's got the lamp too. What's even worse is when she comes across Ren, instead of taking him down or dodging his strikes, she goes for the low blow, switching to Nora's normal eyes to throw Ren off his attack. Talk about aiming for the heart. That's Neo's secret weapon right there. She's not just a gifted fighter and a masterful illusionist, she knows how to target an opponent's weak spot. We saw that when she used Yang's anger against her, we saw it when she robbed RWBY of her weapon, and she's done it again here, making the most of Ren's connection to Nora. And boy did she nail her target, as when the gang have to retreat for some more soldiers, Nora spots Ren crying as he's running. Poor lad, he's already had a roller coaster volume because of his emotions and feelings for Nora, which has caused some friction and divided opinion. Yet here he is having his feelings targeted by the enemy, and it ties into his biggest fear that has sparked all of his conflicted actions this volume, not being strong enough physically and mentally to protect those that matter to him, especially Nora. To see him tear up like this is very painful to see, and it adds an added body blow to the gang's defeat, alongside Neo gearing away scot-free with the lamp in hand. As the gang manage to regroup in the training area, it's clear that the morale of them is low. They've lost the lamp, they're held up in a tight spot, and Ren especially is having massive self-doubts about whether or not they were even ready to become pro huntsmen, even shouting at Nora at one point over their failures. The dude's confidence has been shot, which, for as sad as it is still very compelling. We haven't seen him this emotionally unstable since Volume 4, but that was largely focused on revenge. Here, it's the lad questioning his own strength and feeling frustrated over his weaknesses, pushing Ren into this conflicted state. And I'm fascinated to see where this goes for both his relationship with Nora and his own personal journey. At least there is some good news. Pietro has fixed the scrolls, so he and Maria can call them about the group's plans to evacuate the city. But while the Juniper trio bunker down from the incoming attacks, Oscar, who has kept rather quiet through this scene, has decided to head off elsewhere, telling the team to go on without him. And the worrying signs keep on going as Cinder is now standing before the awake Freya, who is more interested in trying to recall a job that she had to do rather than focusing on the demon lady in front of her about to kill her. But surprise surprise, Freya grabs Cinder's attacking claw before unleashing the Maiden power, and I'm talking full-blown magic burst. This old lady is able to release a giant tornado of freezing magical energy that tears through the room, making for quite the spectacle, especially with some of these visual shots that just looks absolutely gorgeous. This is the power of a fully realized Maiden, something far more mighty than anything we've seen from Amber, Cinder, and even Raven. But the problem is, it's also unstable. Freya's not able to stop right now, and Winter can't get inside lest she gets instant frostbite. Thankfully, the cold never bothers Penny anyway, thanks to being a robo girl, so she dives in and speaks with Freya instead, who has recalled her mission to keep the Maiden power safe until it was time to pass it on, accepting as well that when she does, she will die, the Maiden power pretty much being the only thing that's been keeping her alive at this point. Kinda sad really, and props to Lucy Christian, her voice actress. This is the first episode we've actually gotten to hear Freya properly, and she does enough to make me feel sad that her time is coming short like this, with her fragile yet tender voice. Bless Penny though, her concern for Freya is enough to help the old lady finally quell the tornado, but she's now on death's door. Thus, Freya asks if Penny is the one meant to take the power next. We'll come back to this later, as now we can finally check in on Ironwood, who all this time has been waiting in the vault, and as the lift signals someone's arrival, he assumes that it's Winter, ready to aid in reaching the staff. James even apologizes for asking her to kill Freya to obtain the power, so at least there is still some kind of heart left in him. However, that glimmer of positivity is already swept away, as his soothed face turns to a frown once he realizes it's actually Oscar coming in, and he immediately assumes that the farm boy is against him and intends to fight him since he's got his cane out and he isn't holding the lamp. Just imagine what he would do if he actually heard what happened to it. But no, Oscar doesn't intend to fight Ironwood. He only has the cane out to calm his fears, and though Oscar tries to tell him it's not being afraid that matters, it's who you become when you are that does, Ironwood swiftly cuts him off with a roaring denial. Sure man, whatever you say. Even though it is plain to see that he is afraid, he's more focused on the fact that he feels justified in his past belief that he can't be soft for even a second, lest Salem take advantage of it. He even brushes off Oscar's attempts to shine a light on the needless sacrifices across Remnant that he's willing to allow, because to him, the philosophical points arguing against his plans aren't important against stopping Salem. We then get another brilliant use of lighting to symbolically show someone's mental state, as Ironwood steps into shadow while Oscar's in the light, with the general having enough of those who gets in his way of what he feels is right. He's done with the council, with Robin, with the kingdom itself, and even Oscar. He's no longer listening to reason, and as Oscar says, James is now as dangerous as Salem because of it, for he too is now causing division in humanity through his chaotic actions. And speaking of chaotic actions, Ironwood says that only my friends can call me James. Oscar, though, can call him General, sealing their now broken friendship with a gunshot, breaking Oscar's aura and sending him flying into the chasm below. Holy frickin' hell. There we have it. The Tin Man has finally lost his heart. Ironwood has given up on his humanity by ridding himself of the last person that could potentially make him see sense. He doesn't even look guilty over shooting a young boy and the host body of his old friend. Just a blank stare as the light leaves his eyes, cementing his goals no matter the cost. Miraculous Corazon, Oscar Protection Squad, be public enemy number 1. But wow, what a moment! The nerve-wracking atmosphere backed by the tense music and two wonderfully talented voice actors just delivered one of the most gripping moments in the series. Many of us have talked about how Ironwood's breakdown in his office was what the volume had been building up to, with loyalties being tested, faith being broken, and fear choking the light out of Ironwood. But no, this is what the volume has been leading up to, and it was well worth every twist and turn just for that jaw-dropping moment. But the roller coaster ride doesn't stop there. The string music takes a rapid pace with some quiet chanting as well, as we then start a chain of equally sharp cuts between Oscar falling and the stuff with Freya, which I'll focus on first. Penny is still conflicted over what to say to Freya's question, but before she can reply yes or no to being the next Maiden, Cinder is back, and she wants the power for herself, almost connecting with her grim arm before it's sliced off by the returning Winter. And oh boy, is Jessica Nigri just killing it with these screams. Straight up, this is some damn fine voice work from Jessica to really sell not just the lost limb, but also the gross way that she regains it after some unsettling reactions. Is that Cinder's will though bringing it back, or is it whatever is inside her arm that gives her control of her grim side? Either way, it looks super painful, and Cinder's pissed as a result, choosing now to just rip and tear at Winter with an unending swarm of sword strikes. Eventually, Winter's left on the floor, bruised, bleeding, and just overall looking like a mess, but Cinder's tirade is stopped by the presence of snow. See, while Cinder was raging, Penny has made her decision, finally taking Freya's hand, and with it, the aura transfer began. Ladies and gentlemen, Penny Polendina is now the Winter Maiden, and she's rocking green flames in her eyes instead of blue. I guess it's more to do with aura or eye color than the actual season itself. Go figure. But hell yeah, Penny is the new Winter Maiden, and I'm all for it. The Robo Girl has now become a real girl. Not because it was chosen for her, not because she wanted it personally, but because she was kind to the previous host, and she wanted to use it for good, plus she wanted to stop it being used for something bad, like Cinder's goals, or even Ironwood's. It's a big game changer for Penny in that she's now become not just a protector of Mantle, but also the world. And it's nice to see a Maiden on the good side, considering the last two major ones we had were baddies in some fashion. Of course, this just rustles Cinder's jimmies even more, but before she can go on another slashing spree, RWBY and Winter arrive. And I just love that Cinder goes from powered up fierce, seeing the girl that she's desperate to kill, to scared stiff, as RWBY shows no fear and unleashes her silver eyes. Behind all her bravado and desire for more power to fight RWBY, she genuinely fears facing her again, and that's just delicious to me. Meanwhile, the farm boy is still falling down the chasm, but before he passes out comes the voice of Ozpin, which is enough to snap Oscar into action, and through some newly gained memories, he activates the gears inside the Long Memories collar piece, which start to glow. It's not said outright what the cane is doing here, but when Oscar is then able to strike at the chasm's base with a familiar green magical pulse, I wonder if it's to do with a particular secret that was once mentioned during the Volume 3 commentary for Chapter 12, which mentioned that Ozpin's cane could store time. What if this stored time was able to rewind the damage that Oscar took so he had his full aura again? That way he can attack the base with enough power to break through it alongside some of Ozpin's magic. And yeah, the lad just straight up broke through not just the vault's base, but also the base of Atlas itself, now leaving Oscar falling towards Mantle. But I'm gonna leave the poor boy hanging for just a little bit while I focus elsewhere. I'm sure he can wait a few minutes. First, we see Cinder manage to flee mid Silver Eye's blast, and she goes full Azula Dragon Breath rage over her failure, which is quite the cool shot, not gonna lie. But the victory is bittersweet for the heroes, with Freya's passing, and Winter being less than happy with Weiss over becoming the General's most wanted. By the way, I, like many others in the fandom, think that hair down Winter is kind of attractive. You know, bar the nasty shiner she's got, as well as all those cuts and bruises. Ah, there we go, much better. Oh, and more importantly, we got a new song. A tender ballad called Until the End, performed by Casey, who actually wrote this song herself, her first for this series, which is awesome. It's very touching with a slow piano and Casey's wonderful vocals, but there's also a deep sense of sadness to it, which fits perfectly for the scenes it's playing over. As for who it's most attributed to, I want to say it's representing Penny being there for Freya in her final moments, but it could also be for something else. It may even represent Crow's sadness as we see him and Robin arrested, while Crow looks painfully at Clover's emblem in his hands. Yep, that one still hurts. I've had a feeling that the volume would end with some part of the team being separated, but at the very least, I am glad that Crow's not going to be alone. That's the last thing he needs right now after everything he's been through. Team Junior's not in good spirits either, as they reach the airship. Losing the relic, not knowing where Oscar is, and Ren's emotional body blows have left these three feeling like they've let everyone down. Then we return to the Maiden room, where a wounded Winter first orders the others to surrender, before ultimately choosing to tell them to run. I very much like this bold move, and what it means to Winter's character. Compared to the Aesops who were loyal to Ironwood to a fault, she's found a good middle ground between remaining on Ironwood's side out of loyalty, plus her dedication to her military role, and not letting it blind her to turning on her sister and the lives that she's sworn to protect, inspired by Penny's recent comments and her own moral code. It's very in line with the Winter that we've known over the years, where she can let her soldier side vanish for a moment so she can speak her mind and act honestly, showing her humanity, whereas Ironwood is unwilling to let his affect his decisions. Though I can imagine it was easy for her to let the Maiden powers go, considering not only is it a big part of Ironwood's plans, she had also accepted one day gaining that power as her chance to make some real good in the world. And I do fear what may happen to her if Ironwood finds out about her willingly letting this key part of his plan slip free, considering what he did to Oscar. Still, it does speak volumes about her strong heart and her humanity, something that this kingdom is in desperate need of right now. It does suck for Weiss though to leave her sister in this wounded state, and I wonder if they may have to fight each other due to being on separate sides. But, inspired by their past talk about carving out their own way through life, she and the others grab their ride out of Atlas. And how's that for a contrasting shot? The volume started out with the team flying into Atlas, hoping to find allies and a sign of hope in their fight versus Salem, only to end the volume flying out of Atlas with their main ally now an enemy and their hopes wounded as Salem is drawing near. Very nice directive touch with the camera there for that reflective theming. At least it is good though that the heroes do have Penny and Pietro joining them now, which with the absence of Crow and Oscar is a small but welcome boon. As the heroes make their exit, we then return to Cinder post her meltdown, and even she gets some good news, Neo arriving with the lamp in hand, which she collects without a word save for an evil smirk. And this interestingly makes Neo have a somewhat sad look on her face for a moment. Obviously these two are only working together due to their shared foe, and there's no real positive feelings in their partnership. But Neo looking hurt here is something that I didn't expect. I wonder, does Neo do the things that she does out of a need for appreciation, even if it's from someone like Cinder? Thinking back on her relationship with Roman, be it business only or something more personal, he was always very friendly with his small associate, often praising her for a job well done. Maybe that's what brought them together in the first place, if they did come from separate places. Maybe Roman was the only one who appreciated Neo for who she is, and treated her warmly when no one else was willing to, thus creating the strong partnership that they had. And following Roman's death, she misses that kindness so much, she's willing to fill that hole, even with a small bit of praise from someone that she hates like Cinder. Either way, it is a curious reaction from someone who rarely shows such a wounded look on their face. But I kinda like it, and I hope it is a sign that we will see some fleshing out of her character in the future, if there is more to come from it. Still, the lamp is now in Cinder's hands, and that's not good at all. Though I wonder if she will now try to get herself back in Salem's good books thanks to this, as I can't really imagine she can do much else with it. The question then would be, will she be welcomed back, or will Salem cut her out for good for her failures and going behind her orders not to kill RWBY by making a deal with Neo? At least Salem still has Watts to count on, as it turns out the Doctor is alive and was left in jail, which I'm very surprised by. I said it before, but I would have thought Ironwood would not risk letting any of Salem's inner circle live, let alone a master hacker like Watts. But I guess he feels there's more to gain with him being his prisoner. Maybe he will even try to convince him to build a new way to launch Atlas into the atmosphere. That's a risky move given Watts' track record, but after we see Ironwood scream out in anger after getting told about the Maiden power being gone, he might just be desperate enough to do anything, even trust Watts if he's able to force his hand. Finally, we can return to Oscar, and I can also discuss the speech by Ozpin that he's given over these last few shots, which pretty much echoes what Oscar was talking about before Ironwood cut him off. How fear is a common feeling that everyone experiences, yet somehow we underestimate its ability to affect us. The dialogue is timed very well with some very fitting visual examples to drive home the point, like showing Crow when discussing fear of growing close to someone and the resulting fear of losing them, as well as showing Cinder to showcase fear of failure, and also showing Team Junior to fit the fear of the added pressure as more people depend on you. But the biggest example comes with his questions about who do you see when you look at how fear has affected yourself. There are those who may feel proud with how they reacted to fear, and those who understood and forgive themselves for taking a different, possibly dangerous course. But Ironwood has become the kind of person that others would fear he would turn into if he didn't recognize his own fears. It's a damn good retch brought to life by Shannon's wonderfully perfect narration, and it adds that extra emotional flavour to this last sequence, before capping off with Oscar calling forth more of Ozpin's magic, with the old bubble from his fight with Cinder to aid his superhero landing. He's got more of Ozpin's magic, more of his memories, and now it's confirmed that the man himself is back from his seclusion. Perfect timing too, because Oscar, being split with the others, could use some company. It also looks like he's either just within or outside of Mantle's defenses, possibly even some active or abandoned mine. So I wonder if he'll try to lay low until he can reunite with the others, or try to sneak back into Mantle so he can help those in need, or try again to fix what's going on with Ironwood. Either way, Oscar once again shows his maturity by choosing not to focus on Ozpin's apology, but instead wants to know what they can do together to save Atlas. And they better figure out something soon, because a dark cloud is now within reach of the kingdom, and inside is all manner of grim beasties, including a gargantuan whale Grim, with jagged purple rocks on its top and bottom, and teeth bigger than any of the flying Grims soaring nearby. Gonna be either a Monstro-inspired Grim or a Moby Dick one, and though we don't have an official name for it yet, the fans have disputed what nickname to give it. I'm with the Xiaolong pair. To me, he's Richard, as a Moby Dick reference, and also, you know, we can call him Dick for short. Oh, but it gets worse. Riding this titan of a beast is none other than the Wicked Witch herself, Salem, clad in her best gender-bend Ministry of Darkness Undertaker cosplay, boob window included, with her sinister smile being the last shot of the volume. And yeah, that is the last scene of Volume 7, as we don't have an after-credits scene for the first time in the series, which was a surprise, but as Kerry explained on Twitter, it's done so the team can focus on what's next, and also avoid any crunch time issues, which I think we can all agree is a good trade-off for no after-credits scene. We do have a very touching tribute to Monty though, following the episode releasing on the 5th anniversary of his passing, which of course is just absolutely wonderful. And of course, we have a new credit song, fittingly called Fear, which I have to say might be a contender for my favourite credit song, next to the equally dark and powerful Divide. Just the mixture of the heavy tone, epic instrumentation, and Casey just belting her heart out over the themes mirrored in Oscar and Ozpin's speeches just pushes all the right buttons for me. A perfect send-off for the volume. Phew, that was a lot to talk about. This was a blockbuster of a volume finale, that's for sure. From start to finish, it was packed with some knife-edge tension, fantastic presentation, and a lot of emotion at play to seal the grim fate of our hero's failures, at least for the time being. There was a fear in me that the RWBY might have a hard time capping the story off at the right point to both tie up this volume's narrative and the lingering thread still left hanging, whilst also leaving enough suspense and intrigue for the material in the next volume. But I'm glad to say I felt like they left it off at the right note to leave me wanting more without feeling like this episode was lacking any engaging or exciting content. For starters, we had two very entertaining and visually pleasing fights that worked off well with their central villain's strengths, especially Cinder, who I think had one of her best chapters in recent memory. Not only did she provide plenty of dread and brutal attacks, we also got to see her leave a clue to her history, and even look compelling at her weakest moments. A lot of that was down to Jessica's finest work in the role thus far, though she wasn't the only voice talent on fire. The likes of Taylor, Elizabeth, Lucy, and Aaron and Jason were on the top of their game voice-wise, and were all deserving of high praise. The surprise outcome regarding the Winter Maiden delivered a massive moment for Penny and Winter's character into different yet still very positive routes, and like I said before, everything that the volume was building up to with trust, fear, and consequences culminated in that damn near perfect scene in the vault that etched Ironwood as one of these show's most engaging complex characters. Him shooting down Oscar was the perfect narrative crescendo to this dangerous turn of his, as he willingly chose to cut ties with the last person who could possibly save him, and the whole scene was also the perfect stage for Oscar's coming of age moment. The young lad has never looked more fitting as a protector of the world through his strong heart and brave maturity that shows how far he's come since his more timid days. With Ozpin by his side once again, I really do hope that the future remains bright for him, and his tragic bond-breaking scene with Ironwood's gunshot was a beautifully shocking yet striking way to close off their friendship in the best way, leading into Volume 8 with them as tragic enemies. Visually, the episode was stellar, with some gorgeous backgrounds, wide shot angles that were fantastic, and some well-timed cuts, though maybe there was a bit too much jumping around between Oscar's events and Penny's side, but it's nothing too egregious. At the very least, the score was flawless, with the epic choir used wisely to give the air battle, plus Penny and Oscar's big moments, a worthy grand aura to it. And the vocal songs each delivered fitting, heartfelt, or blood-pumping beats to decorate the scene or celebrate the volume's end with the perfect reflection on what themes it featured. And now let's wrap things up with the last episode awards for the volume, starting with the voice acting gold star, with Jessica Nigri I feel being the most deserving of this award. She's not always been the finest voice in the series, but I feel she showed in this episode just how much she's improved with her screams and overall varied emotions in her performance, and thus she should be rightfully praised for it. The scene of the episode has to go to Ironwood shooting Oscar, not just for the shock of it, but also due to the expert lighting, expression work, the badass line from General, and the entire moment signaling the end of this positive bond and the start of Ironwood's fall from grace in dramatic fashion. And finally, I've decided that the character of the episode should go to two people, Penny and Oscar, for their captivating show of strength, kindness, and bravery, topped by their biggest moments as a reward. So, if you had to tie me down and ask where does this rank amongst the other volume finales, I'd say it's just above volume 4 and 6, but just behind volume 3. It did everything a closing chapter is asked to achieve: cement the narrative's themes with plenty of entertaining spectacles and emotional moments, and still leave plenty to savor on till the next volume arrives. It's especially important for this finale to do so, since we know just how intertwined volumes 7 and 8 will be, so getting a chapter that can perfectly bridge the two together in a way that didn't skimp out on ending this volume on a high is a damn good achievement in my eyes. We've had game changers, breakdowns, killer action, sad endings, plenty of positives and negatives to put the heroes on a new path, and a strong, dark atmosphere that signals plenty of reasons to be excited and fearful for what's to come. We've only just begun the Atlas arc, but with this episode, I can confidently say that I was satisfied with our first taste. And we're done. That's it for my Volume 7 episode reviews. Thank you all so much for watching the video and every other review this season. Again, I know it's not been on a consistent release schedule wise, but I hope it is still being entertaining all the same. Of course, now I want to know, what do you guys think about this volume finale? Was it enough to satisfy you until the next volume? Were you surprised how things ended with Oscar and Ironwood? What do you think will happen next time? And where does this finale rank among the rest in your eyes? Let me know in the comments down below, and while you're at it, hit the subscribe and bell button and tick the notification box to make sure you get every new video from me as they drop. And follow me on Twitter at ThatKaitoDan for more on anything to do with RWBY, updates on future content for the channel, and more. But until next time, have a good day or good night, and peace out.